Chapter 23. Violet. Violet awoke gasping for air. She sat up fast, letting a breath fill her lungs as fast as she could, gulping oxygen down like iced tea. It took her a moment or two to realize where she was. She was in bed, in the bedroom she'd been staying in at Syndrome's place for the past few days. On the floor, 2 guards were knocked out cold. She didn't know how that happened, but she wasn't going to look a gift horse in the mouth. Daylight was streaming in the window, which meant she'd been asleep for hours. Not good. Syndrome. The nullifier. Her parents. Her brothers. She had to get to them. Violet jumped out of bed. Ow! Her whole body ached, as if she were getting over the worst case of the flu she ever had. She felt hot, then cold, then hot again, and she was sweating. She dabbed at her forehead with a tissue and looked in the mirror. She looked the same, but inside, she knew she was different. Violet tried to become invisible using every technique she knew, which, annoyingly, were Syndrome's tips, and nothing happened. Next, she shot her hands out in front of her, attempting to fire a force field. All she felt was achy. Her powers were gone. A sob escaped her lips. She had got what she'd always wanted, and yet she didn't want it anymore. Her arms felt like weights hanging from her shoulders. She just wanted to lie down and sleep, but she couldn't. Mom and Dad were alive. Alive! Violet started to cry, relieved and then worried all over again. They were alive for now, but if she didn't get to them, she knew what would happen. She had to hurry. Syndrome was moving them to the beach. Isn't that what he had said? He was going to strip their powers and run off with Dash and Jack-Jack, and Violet was the only one who knew his plan. Mirage was dead. There's no way she had survived that fall. Frozen was captured. It was all on her. And she had no powers to help her. Syndrome had destroyed her family, and she'd basically let him walk in and do it. He was despicable, a pure villain, plain and simple, and she had fallen for his lies. Maybe Mastermind was a supervillain, but at least she had been upfront about it. Was there any way to reach Mastermind now? Not alone, not without her powers, and even if the car was still downstairs and the coordinates were in it, what would she tell Mastermind if she found her? Hey, I know I stole your nullifier and lost it, but can you help me? No, she needed to come up with a different plan and fast. She was almost certain Syndrome's other guards were getting ready to haul her away to the island any moment. What was she going to do? You're going to get out of here and help them, a voice in her head said. She had no choice. If Frozone had been captured, who was left to help her square off against Syndrome? Who was smart, capable, headstrong, and unafraid to stand up for themselves? Violet heard a phone begin to ring. She looked around wildly, hoping to silence it before it alerted the guards. On her nightstand were 2 items, the spy guide that Syndrome had given her the day she arrived, which she never bothered using, and a small, slim, silver gadget that was ringing. It was Mirage's portable phone. Violet picked it up and stared at the buttons. On top was a green one and a red one. Green meant go, so... Hello? Violet answered. Aunt Mirage, is that you? Kari's voice was so loud, Violet had to hold the phone away. This is Kari McKean, the babysitter, the one who watched Jack Parr for hours, overtime I might add, and didn't get paid. You owe triple. She heard a voice in the background mumbling something. 6 times my pay, on account of all the damage in my house because, you know, she whispered that last part. Kari! Violet hissed, not wanting to alert the guards that she'd woken up. Any second they could bust through the door. She had to speak fast. It's Violet. I need your help. Help? I need your help. Getting my house back. My head is kind of foggy after what happened. My parents said maybe there was a gas leak in the house. They don't even remember letting me babysit. But I remember your aunt and she owes me money. How could you leave Jack here when he's strange? Give me the phone, someone barked. Violet, is that you? Lucy! Violet watched the door again for signs of guards. It's me. I'm so glad we found you, Lucy said as Kari continued yelling in the background. I thought something happened to you. When Uncle Lou heard about your house and he couldn't reach your dad, he went after him. Now Aunt Honey is all upset because no one has heard from Uncle Lou in a day, and we're really worried about him too. I know where he is, Violet blurted out. You do? Kind of, Violet said, and felt her lower lip start to quiver. It's the same person who took Dash and Jack. They have my parents too, and that's probably where Frozone is trapped as well. I'm afraid if we don't get to them in time, they'll lose their powers or worse. I have to get to them as quickly as possible, and I can't. I am not sure how to. She felt so overwhelmed. Yet for the first time, none of her powers manifested along with her emotions. It was a disorienting feeling. Calm down. Where are you? Lucy said. I don't even know the address. I just know I need to get out of here. How was she going to get around the guards without powers? Surely the two on the floor in front of her weren't the only ones around. Can you use your super smarts and get to us then? Lucy pressed as Kari kept yelling. We can meet somewhere public. It's safer. How about the Happy Platter? The Happy Platter. It was in downtown Metroville. She didn't have her powers, but she could figure out how to get there. She needed her friend's help. Okay, I don't know how, but I'll be there in half an hour. In a half hour. We have to hurry. Okay, Lucy said. We'll be there too. Bring my babysitting money, Kari shouted in the background. Violet grabbed Mirage's phone and her spy guy. Then she sneaked out of the room, expecting to be stormed. Instead, leaving the house was too easy, almost as if someone had planned to help her non-super self leave the premises. When Violet stepped out of the bedroom, she found more guards passed out on the floor, all snoring loudly as if they'd been hit by a sleeping spray. She didn't question her luck. The lift took her down to the parking garage. She expected to have to ride Dash's skateboard all the way to the diner, but instead she found a car much like the one Mirage drove, waiting for her with a large note taped to the window in messy handwriting. Her name was in large print. Need a ride, Violet? Tell the car where you need to go. Homing device on this car has been disconnected, so your location cannot be tracked. Hope that helps. A friend. A friend? Huh? It felt like a trap, or someone who wasn't loyal to Syndrome was helping her. She hesitated for the briefest of moments before sliding into the front seat and pressing the navigation button, which had also been marked. The Happy Platter Metroville, please. She was saying please to a car. Whatever, it worked. In seconds, the engine was purring and the car was cruising out of the garage, heading to the city. All the while, Violet kept worrying. How was she going to find Syndrome's beach house? She reached for her powers, willing herself to go invisible, to hide from the impossible challenge she had to face. But her body did not disappear. Her powers were truly gone. Solving this problem was going to be entirely on her normal self. The Happy Platter, its tall neon sign, a landmark in the city, was just a few corners away. She peered out the passenger side window cautiously. She didn't see any of Syndrome's goons, but they could be in disguise, couldn't they? Clearly, they'd been the ones dressed in tuxedos at her house, posing as Mastermind's goons. How could she have fallen for such a ruse? The Happy Platter, home of the famous 40-ounce burger and cookie dough milkshake, on your left, the car announced, rolling to a stop right in front of the diner. Violet heard the doors unlock. Shall I wait for you, Violet Parr? Yes, Violet told the car, feeling funny treating it like a dog. Wait right here. I'll be back soon. Don't leave with anyone else. Inside, the reception was jammed. She could see the dining room was packed. She stood on her tiptoes to try to find Kari's familiar, dark blonde ponytailed head among all the people sitting in red leather booths, and heard someone calling her name. Violet! Lucy shouted from across the room, standing up and waving. Over here! Next to her, Kari had her head in her hands and was staring at her red placemat. Violet hurried over, and Lucy pulled her into an embrace. Violet held tight, not wanting to let go. "I've been so worried," Lucy whispered. "Are you okay?" "No," Violet said, feeling her eyes well with tears. "Everyone I love is in trouble, and it's all my fault." Lucy's brown eyes crinkled worriedly. "We're going to figure this out. Together." She held up a faded brown messenger bag. "I've come prepared for anything." Before Violet could ask what was inside the bag, Kari interrupted them. "Hi, Kari," Kari said, or "Hi, Violet," Kari said in the dullest tone possible. Violet did a double take. Her friend looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. Dark circles rimmed her large eyes. Her ponytail was askew. Her hair fizzled, and her clothes wrinkled. She looked way worse than she had last night. Hi?" Violet looked at Lucy and whispered, "What happened to her?" "She's struggling," Lucy whispered back. "She told me about Jack Jack." "When did that happen?" "It's been a long weekend," Violet said wearily. "But there's no time to explain. I have to find my brothers and my parents, and I don't know how. And I've lost... She couldn't say the words, "my powers." She started to hyperventilate. "Just sit down," Lucy instructed. "You look as bad as Kari. Eat something. I ordered pancakes for all of us." "I don't have time to eat," Violet said, sitting across from Kari as Lucy slid in next to her. She was hungry, though. "You have to," Lucy said, sounding motherly. "It will help." She pushed a glass of orange juice over to her, and Violet took a sip greedily. "You need your strength." Strength. The word caused Violet to laugh, semi-hysterically. Kari glared at her. "How can you laugh at a time like this? I'm so mad at you. Your aunt owes me a lot of money and a new house," Kari said, sitting up suddenly and looking stormy. "My parents think I had a fire in the kitchen, or was playing with matches, or knocked over a candle. All things I never touched because, hello, Babysitter Guide 101? Her right eye was twitching. "That fire was caused by..." Her voice lowered to a whisper. "Your brother bursting into flames, going through walls, shooting lasers with his eyes." She pointed a finger at Violet's face and accidentally poked her in the nose. "I know what I saw. Don't try to deny it. And I didn't even get paid." If Violet wanted Kari's help, and she needed Kari's help, she had to tell her. She'd deal with the consequences later. Didn't her dad say the agency had a way to wipe people's minds? Could she make Kari forget once they got through this? She hoped so. She had no choice. Desperate times called for desperate measures. "You're right," Violet said. "I'm sorry for laughing." She glanced around the diner to make sure a waiter wasn't nearby. "Jack Jack is special. He's a super." Kari blinked rapidly. "A super? As in these supers? Like the ones with powers? The ones that are illegal?" Violet and Lucy both nodded. "Yes," Violet said. "It felt good to tell someone the truth. He's a super baby. And the night you babysat him, that was the first time he demonstrated any powers. If I had known he had any, I wouldn't have suggested Mirage, who is not actually my aunt, by the way, let you babysit." Kari's jaw dropped, and it took her a few moments to close her mouth. "So that means if Jack Jack is super, then you and your family are super too?" "Yes," Violet admitted. "We're all supers, and so is Lucy's uncle. Might as well throw it all out there. We're not really supposed to tell anyone, but since I found out by accident, I haven't had my mind wiped or anything," Lucy said, playing with her fork. Kari sat up straight. "Mind wiped? Let's not scare her." Violet patted Kari's arm. Kari looked from Violet to Lucy and back again, unable to form words. "To be clear," Lucy spoke up, "I'm not super like Violet." "You're super?" Kari repeated, staring at Violet. "A real super? What can you do? Like fly or shoot lasers like Jack Jack?" Violet bit her lip. "I used to be able to shoot force fields, and I could become invisible. That's actually what happened Friday night at the party. That's why I disappeared." Kari threw her hands up. "I thought I saw you running outside without your head, but I told myself I was seeing things." She threw herself back against the pleather cushion seat. "My parents think I'm losing it." "You're not. I am a super." She looked down at her hands. At least I used to be. What do you mean used to be? Lucy asked. Violet quickly filled her friends in on all that had happened at the last few days. Lucy was aghast, but Kari seemed fascinated, despite the peril everyone was in. I can't believe I'm friends with a super. Kari raised her voice. I was right. She seemed to be telling the whole diner as Lucy shushed her. Correction, I'm a former super, Violet reminded her miserably. Why did it hurt so much to say that? You'll always be super to me, Kari said giddily. Do you realize how lucky you are? Nope, Violet said grimly. Maybe that's why I lost my powers in the first place. I'm sorry, Violet, Lucy said. That's awful. I know Uncle Lou would have called you back if he hadn't been away with Aunt Honey for his anniversary. He got back Saturday, and when he couldn't reach you guys and he saw your house, he took off. Aunt Honey hasn't seen him since. She's really worried. She should be, Violet said quietly and took another sip of orange juice. Syndrome has some sort of vendetta against my parents, and I gave him a weapon that could strip powers, and basically begged to have my powers taken away. She looked at her friends again. Who knew the only thing I always wanted to get rid of, my powers, was something I would need to save my family? What are you going to do? Kari asked. I don't know, Violet admitted. That's why I'm here. I was hoping you could help. What can we do? Kari asked. We're not supers. Didn't you hear her? Lucy reminded her. She's not either anymore. We will help. Somehow. Isn't there anyone we can call for backup? Violet thought for a moment. I have the number for the agency, but where am I telling them to go? I don't even have an address for Syndrome's beach house. She pulled the phone and spy guy out of her bag. All I have is this. A spy guy? Kari said. I always wanted one of these. It takes videos. She pressed a button and the screen came to life. Suddenly Dash appeared, his face so close to the screen he appeared to be touching it. Violet, it's me! Dash! Violet cried, grabbing the spy guy. What is he saying? Can you turn it up? Kari adjusted the volume. If you get this, he's taken us to some old shack at Metroville Beach that he turned into a secret hideout. It used to be a restaurant called Nigel's. He looked back worriedly. Hurry! Nigel's. I remember that place. Horrible chips, Lucy said with a shudder, pouring syrup on her pancake stack. Kari hit some buttons on the device. Here it is. There's even a locator. The screen flickered and suddenly Violet saw a blinking dot like the one she had seen on the homing device. There he is, Violet said, touching the screen. She started to get up. I'm going. Alone? Lucy asked. That's crazy. Just call the agency. Have them storm the place. I'm going to call, but this can't wait. What if they don't get there in time? Violet insisted. I helped my family get in this mess. I have to get them out of it. Well, if you're going to do that, you might need whatever is in this bag, Kari said, and placed it on the table. Dash left this at the house the other night. Dad's weapons, Violet cried, spying the megaphone inside and the peace button. I also have these, Lucy added, putting the messenger bag on the table as well. I took it from Uncle Lou's. I don't know what the stuff does, but it must do something. Violet peered in the bag. There were all kinds of gadgets in there. Thanks. She felt stronger already. She looked at her friends. But I don't want to do this alone. I could really use some help. I know what I'm asking is dangerous. I'm in, Lucy said immediately. Me too, Kari added. I've always wanted to see an actual super in action, even though you're not super. And we're not sure your brothers will be either by the time we get there, or whether your parents are okay, or whether the syndrome guy will try to kill us, or Kari. We get it. Lucy looked at Violet. We will help you with whatever you need, starting with this. Here. She began playing with Violet's hair, pulling a black headband out of her bag and placing it on Violet's head, pushing her hair out of her eyes. Now you can at least see who you're fighting. Violet touched her head, turning to the window to stare at her reflection. The headband didn't look half bad. The girl in the reflection was someone she hardly ever spent time looking at. Violet had been hiding her whole life. From her powers, from her secrets, from what she couldn't control. But she couldn't hide anymore. Don't think, and don't worry. If the time comes, you'll know what to do. It's in your blood. That was what her mom had said on the machine. All right, this is what we're going to do. Pancakes? All three girls looked up. Violet almost swallowed her tongue. Tony! Hi. Tony placed a platter of pancakes in front of her. His hair flopped in front of his eyes, and he smelt like bacon grease and pancake syrup. He was wearing a white dress shirt with a red bow tie, and his shirt was monogrammed with the word Tony across his right breast pocket. For a moment, Violet forgot all her troubles. Did you order more buttermilk pancakes? He asked. Violet stammered. Lucy nudged her in the back. Yes, thanks, Tony. Have you met my friend Violet? Kari started to giggle. I know Violet, Tony said. Hi. He knew who she was? Her heart fluttered. How could she be drooling over a boy at a time like this? She snapped to attention and smiled. Hi, Tony. Hi, he said again, and they stared at each other a moment. His eyes got bigger. Okay. Oh, I forgot. More syrup. Be right back. Kari grinned. I think he likes you. Did he? Like her? Violet wasn't sure, and at the moment, Violet couldn't wait around to find out. Sure, she wanted to talk to Tony Ryder, but today was not that day. Violet could feel her confidence growing, a plan forming to change her family's fate. Quick, I have a ride out front. A driverless car. Let's go. A driverless car? Kari crowed. Violet threw some money down on the table and grinned at Tony's retreating figure on the other side of the diner. I'll explain everything on our way to Nigel's.